like they're, woe is me, the world is ending, I don't know what I'm going to do for a living. And it's like, did you take just a second to just read the settlement? Because it doesn't say any of that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you are a real estate agent, maybe even if you're a mortgage professional that happens to stumble upon this and you're listening and you're wondering what in the heck the NAR settlement, the National Association of Realtors settlement, means for you, we are going to break that down in this episode like you're 8, like you're 5 for Michael Scott. Break it down to me like I'm 5, right? We're going to give you the skinny. All right, so I'm Mike. This is Chris. We are the Tactical Agents. If you have not heard of this podcast or what we're doing, just a quick blurb about that. You can go to tacticalagents.com, join our community group. Don't forget to do that if you appreciate what we're doing here. We got into the real estate business quite a number of years ago, and we, through trial and error and through our own, paid coaching, all sorts of processes, kind of came up with our own approach. Nothing crazy unique. We didn't reinvent the wheel, but we kind of collated it into a process we call the Tactical Agent system. And so that's how we grow our own businesses, how we teach and coach other agents to grow their businesses. And we have a group on Facebook that is absolutely free. All the resources, our book, training academy, information, regular ongoing, Zoom webinars, things that we do to just offer value to your business. We just throw it out there. And we put that value out there because we believe that if we put enough value out there into the industry, into the space, that people will want to work with us eventually in their own time for their own reasons and grow together. So that is what we're doing, and that's the motivation. No catches, no nothing. Any other life updates that you need to tell people about, Chris?
Oh, nothing I can think of. I've been getting a whole lot of calls from family and friends being like, hey, buddy, how you doing with the whole new lawsuit thing? Are you going to be okay? What are you going to do for work now?
Yeah, it's been wild. I'm quite surprised at how far-reaching this story is in the mainstream. Like, it's not even like just an industry thing where people are talking about it inside, like as real estate agents or lenders or whatever, but the average person, like had a lot of conversations about this with just regular people asking me about that. And what's interesting is at the top of this, we really have two different approaches, and you're quickly going to see our approach. Some people are going to see this as a complete obstacle, and other people are going to see this as a complete opportunity. It really is those two major paths. And they're talking about, maybe 600,000 agents are going to quit. And to that I say, if they're quitters, then that might not be a bad thing. Like if you're just going to bail because something changes or there's a new challenge to face or navigate and you're going to bail, how serious really were you about this? I don't know. I just feel like that's one approach. And what we're going to talk about today is why we see this as an opportunity and not just a problem. So let's just talk real quick about, like, I guess up to this point, what has actually gone on. So this all kind of started with a lawsuit in Missouri, and basically, whether it was a money grab or whether there was legitimate deception going on or whatever, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, major brokerages, and then of course NAR is involved in this lawsuit where sellers are saying that they were deceived into paying excessive commissions or commissions, like forced into paying both seller commission and buying agent commission. Is that accurate? Right?
Yeah, and it's like it's an antitrust situation. They're saying that the NAR and real estate agents were conspiring to keep commissions high, which kept housing prices high, and that's essentially what they're saying.
Right. So then they reached a settlement, and that news broke last week, and So the settlement basically is going to be for hundreds of millions of dollars, and now they're trying to kind of like roll other potential lawsuits out of Missouri that's kind of like I don't want to call them like copycat lawsuits, but that's kind of like what it is. Like they're like, oh, if it worked there, then we're going to do it here. And so NAR is reaching this settlement agreement that can then be nationwide and just handle the issue, wrapping in all of the NAR related brokerages into one big national settlement. And so that has happened, and there's going to be some rule changes as a result, some new practices. And we have to keep in mind too, a judge hasn't actually settled. All of the details of the settlement have not shaken out yet. So anything that, would be definitive is a little bit early on that. And then whatever changes are going to happen as a result of the settlement will really be enacted in July of this year. So for now, it's kind of like business as usual. And then some changes will happen. Thankfully, we are a part of a brokerage that already dealt with this in a lot of ways. Like we already have our paperwork and our workflows have already changed. And so we're kind of doing already what we need to be doing for what happens. So I'm grateful for that. But at the end of the day, it's crazy that even news sources that are supposed to be unbiased and whatever else, like we come from a law enforcement background, so we already don't trust the media. But
not at all.
It's weird to see this from a completely non-political, right? Non-law enforcement, and to see the media absolutely butcher this with sensationalism and misinformation. I mean, like the headlines were the end of real estate commission. Like, what? No one said that. The lawsuit didn't say that. The settlement proposals don't say that. Nothing says that at all. And what's crazy to me is that right now I have like, let's just say, I think it's 7 active transactions. Like they're somewhere between contract and close right now. Out of those 7, 3 of them are all different commissions than the normal 3%. And that was because that was negotiated on the list side by me and the seller. And then on the buy side, what they were offering was different than normal. I accepted that. It's all in writing. Like it's all explained. And so negotiating commissions is nothing new. So before, I guess, I need to pull
what really gets me. What really gets me is that, yeah, you have all these news organizations putting out complete misinformation. It doesn't matter if it's Fox News or the New York Times, completely opposite sides of the political spectrum. They're all wrong about what's happening. They're making no attempt whatsoever to get it right. And the craziest part about all that to me is that real estate agents are taking the facts they get from those news articles when they have access to the actual settlement. They can read, it's 108 pages, they can read the actual settlement.
Yeah.
And instead, they're taking these wild claims that these news agencies are claiming and running with them as fact. And it's like they're, woe is me, the world is ending, I don't know what I'm going to do for a living. And it's like, did you take just a second to just read the settlement? Because it doesn't say any of that.
Right. It doesn't say any of that. But, in my casual observations, this is purely anecdotal. The agents that seem to have the highest level of stress or freaking out about this are agents who already are stressed to the max because they don't really have an actual process or system in place to get business. And so
correct,
they're freaking out because they're already barely making it, if at all. And so this just adds to that. And agents that I know are consistent. They have their approach, even if it's different than ours, but they are steady and they're level-headed. None of them are freaking out about this. So let's give you a complete oversimplification, right? So at the end of the day, what this settlement means is not that you can't have 6% commission. It's not that
Or
you
any
can't have
percent.
10% commission. Okay?
Right.
Commission is and has been up to this point and will continue to be negotiable between all the parties involved. And so nothing changes about that. It's just how you're communicating what that is, and the means of disclosing it and negotiating it will change. That's it.
Right.
That's it. It's like a detour has been placed in the road that you normally have traveled, right? Or there's been a shift. They've been building a new road. The settlement says, okay, we're still going to get you to where you need to go. We just have to build a road around this old way. We're not repairing that. We're just going to abandon that. We're going to build a road around it.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to travel a different way. Well, that's going to be 5 minutes longer. Yeah, but it's getting you to the same place. It doesn't really change anything because the destination is ultimately the same. So it might feel like a detour temporarily until it becomes the normal route.
Right.
That you get used to. The other thing is like the only real change is that when you log into the MLS and you see the commission breakdown where it's showing you the cooperative commission, that we won't be disclosing that on the front end in the MLS. So somehow, and that this is a little bit of an unknown, whether it's you have to call the agent before you set up a showing to confirm what that's going to be, or some other means, you will have to look. What the lawsuit allows, or the settlement allows, is that for a listing on the broker's website, not the MLS, but on the broker's site with the listing, it can share the compensation. So you'll be able to know ahead of time because every broker puts properties
Right.
for sale on their site. So it will not change anything in terms of like what the commission is per se. Maybe it will, but it's always been negotiable. So that's not changing. What is changing is where you become aware of the commission.
What strikes me is, I think taking it out of the MLS is a mistake, and it's what they're going to have to do to settle the lawsuit, and I understand that. But for all the talk about keeping things fair and making sure people aren't discriminated against and all that stuff that is prevalent in real estate and important in real estate, this is going to make a prime opportunity for people to, oh, this agent is calling me as a woman, I'm going to offer her 2.25%. Or, it's
Right.
not saying that it's going to be the norm or anything, but it's going to give people an avenue to do that. Whereas before they had to abide by what they wrote in the MLS. Mm-hmm. Now that could be where it could be a negative. It could also be a positive where you have a conversation with an agent and you could be like, this guy's a dumbass. I'm not giving him full commission for this. And, give him a negotiated better, rate of commission on that end because you're going to be doing more work, covering for an incompetent agent. So there's good and bad about it, but
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I just having everything clear and transparent, especially a couple years ago when they added the buyer agent commission to the public fields on the MLS so that buyers could actually see it, I thought was a really strong move in for transparency's sake.
Yeah.
And then you have a bunch of lawyers come along and ruin it.
Yeah. So to catch you up on explaining this to you like you're five, number one, commissions have been, are, and will continue to be negotiable. Nothing is changing. It's just a different, there'll be a slightly different route to get there. Number two, part of that means that the commission is not going to be in the MLS. It's yet to be seen exactly how that will shake out, but we're waiting. But we know that the settlement is going to require that it's not in there. And then lastly, the buyer agency agreements are going to have to be in play. You're going to have to have a buyer agency agreement that makes that commission, whatever obligation they're going to have for commission, needs to be spelled out. Even if ultimately the seller is going to pay your part of the commission, you're going to be disclosing that in the event that they want a house that doesn't offer that, that they may be responsible for that. So like your broker will have a documentation. Like I said, ours already does. I've been using this for 3 months now, so it's not new to me. It hasn't changed my business. It's still growing. So it's like, yeah, this is just normal for me. But if you're not used to that, well, now you're going to have to be able to lock your buyers in with clarity in that, which is that's not a bad thing. That kind of transparency is not bad, but nothing has been different. I did a transaction like 2 or 3 years ago where the buyers had to pay my commission, and I had to negotiate it myself because the sellers weren't offering it. It is what it is. They wanted that house. My job was to help them get into that, and I negotiated a reduced commission that everybody was happy with in that case. And that was way before this settlement. So again, it goes back to number one, like it's same destination and it's always been negotiable. So the real question is then how do we respond? So that's explaining it to you like you're 5. And those are the bottom 3 things that you need to understand. Very, very oversimplified, we know, but again, we're trying to keep it simple. So what should you do? A few things. First of all, you better figure out, but this is something you should have already done. Figure out what your value add is. Mm-hmm. Figure out why you as an agent. Of course, every agent talks about all of their qualities that make them equal to every other agent out there. But what makes you stand apart? Why you? And I would say that the tactical approach to this of doing business with people that you know, like, and trust is more important than ever. Because now if buyers, if the trend over the next 3 to 5 years is less commission for buyer side, well then why would they choose you? Then consumers are going to like just shop who's going to do it for the cheapest possible amount, you know? And you have to bring value to the table. You need to be able to articulate clearly who you are, how you operate, and what are the commitments and values that you bring to the table. You got thoughts on that?
No, that's what it boils down to. And again, it's not any different than what it was before. You should already be doing this. You should already be able to communicate why they need to hire you and why your service is valuable. And really, this is all much ado about nothing. Like there, like we've kind of hammered on a couple different ways. There's really only a couple things that are changing. One, commission's not going to be in the MLS anymore, so you're going to have to have a conversation with other agents and negotiate commission. Which, if you've been around for a while, I think we just did an episode about talking an actual conversation with other agents a couple episodes ago. So you have more conversations with agents, which is going to help you develop relationships with agents, which is going to help you sell more houses. So there's that. And then the buyer broker agreement, which you talked about, which you should already be doing anyway.
Yeah.
You know,
you should be.
Buyers should know what they're expected to pay.
Yeah, you can't legally do all the things that you should be doing for a buyer without a buyer agency agreement. Like it's putting the client at risk. It's actually bad for the client to not have that in place. Now, of course, you can have an approach that's more scammy to try to lock complete strangers in, right? On something just to try to get another notch in the belt. But I mean, we're talking about adding actual value to this. And then you're going to have to get good at explaining this stuff, right? You need to practice your communication on these things. We've talked about the fit test before, that key conversation, whether it's listing or whether it's a buy side. We walked through something for 10 or 15 minutes called the fit test to explain how we operate and to learn what matters to the buyer or seller, to the client. And, you got to get good at that. You need to set the groundwork. This is not just about a transaction. This is about a relationship with a particular goal in mind. And so you got to get good at communicating with your clients, not just negotiating your commission, but explaining yourself
Right.
answering questions, know the industry, know the situation, and practice communicating it.
And the most laughable part about all this is buyer agent commissions are going away. No, they're not. Why would they? Like, for me, if I'm going to market a property, right, I'm one person. Mm-hmm. There are, 40,000 real estate agents around me? Mm-hmm. Would you rather have one person marketing for you or 40,000? Mm-hmm. So when I have a conversation with my sellers, it's going to be, you are correct. You no longer have to offer a commission at all to the buyer. But let me tell you what's going to happen if you don't. Nobody's going to come look at your house. So It's in your best interest, and it will save you money, and you will earn more when you sell your house by offering a buyer agent or a cooperative commission.
Yeah, the whole reason that the commission is typically split, paid for by the seller, has not changed. It will not change. What changes about somebody wants to sell their house and somebody's looking to buy, and the buy side has the expenses of originating the loan and prepaying all of the stuff, whether it's the homeowner's insurance and taxes, they're prepaying. They carry those expenses, and they're to add on more means they're not going to be in the market then. So then you want to sell your house. Oh, well, I'm going to save 3% by not offering. I'll just pay my listing agent 3% and I'll just cut the buyer agent out. Oh, really? Because what buyer is going to add 3% on? They're just going to go, okay, I just won't buy your house then.
Exactly. And people think of it as like a fee, but it's not a fee. It's a marketing expense. And the reason you market it, I mean, just think last, 2 years ago when everything was going crazy in the market here in Phoenix, and I would put a house up and we'd have 50 offers on it. How many of those offers we had got if none of the buyer agents were there bringing their clients to it? Mm-hmm. Does that offer go down to 4 or 5? Instead of $75,000 over asking, am I getting $2,000 under asking? Mm-hmm. And is paying that 3% commission a benefit for the seller when they can get 75 over asking? Yes. It's a marketing expense.
And if you're trying as a selling agent, listing agent, to work around that and try to double dip, right? What we're going to see is many states don't allow it, dual agency, first of all, but we're probably even going to see, my prediction is over the next probably 12 to 36 months, we're going to see dual agency be gone everywhere. I don't think that we're going to see that because it's going to be a countermeasure to what's going on right now to make sure that you're not just cutting out half of the industry. That is more deceptive than anything else to say, well, if I can bring both the buyer and seller, I can up my commission to 5% or 6%, and then you're cutting them out. That's going to create a vicious cycle to where what goes around comes around in that world. Like you can't just, it won't work. That is doomed to fail. And so the common sense thing is that it's just some new things that we have to do to get to the same place. And that's really what it comes down to. So whether you're 5 or whether you're 8, hopefully you understand all that. And we're over time. So we're gonna
wrap this up.
Yeah. There was a much longer video that is on YouTube from the president of Real, Sharon Srivatsa. He does a much better job than us, probably, really going into this from a leader in the industry. I'll put that in the pinned comment here on this video. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please drop a rating or review if you appreciate the content that we're putting out. Come subscribe on YouTube if you want to see this content and more that we begin to put out throughout 2024. With that, tacticalagents.com. Get in the group. Love to see you. Love to help you. We'll see you
later.